I'm Kier.
I'm Haley.
And I'm Jay from Gallifrey Public Radio,
a podcast member of the GonnaGeek network.
Just like the one you're listening to right now.
The opinions expressed are those of each individual.
Check out all the other podcasts at GonnaGeekNetwork.com.
And get ready, because geekiness begins in 3,
2,
1. You're listening to Crimson Comet, a fan podcast about the TV show dedicated to the Scarlet Speedster himself, CW's The Flash.
Welcome to episode 27 of Crimson Comet. This week we'll be discussing The Flash, Season 1, Episode 23, the season finale, called Fast Enough. I am your host, Will, a.k.a. Rum Daddy.
I'm John, a.k.a. Lobster.
I'm Haley, a.k.a. Awesome Engineering Girl.
And I'm George.
Just George.
Just George.
We have to come up with a handle for George.
It might happen.
I think we came up with one. Like,
oh, God.
Not Curious George.
Could be a lot worse, so I would take that. But yes, we'll work on it.
So you could reach us any different ways. If you have comments or questions or any way that you want to reach us and talk to us, you could reach us on our website, crimsoncometpodcast.com, Twitter @CrimsonComet, Facebook, Crimson Comet Podcast, YouTube, Crimson Comet, or you could reach us on our voicemail, 423-FLASH53. That's 423-352-7453. You can leave us an email at crimsoncomet@GonnaGeek.com, or reach us through the forums at forums.GonnaGeek.com, or GonnaGeek on the Tapatalk app.
Tapatalk, tapatalk.
Guys, I'm having a really hard time talking
Who's
tonight.
editing this?
Haley,
You know, I feel like with this episode, we're going to have a hard time with it because...
We're going to have to edit out the sobs?
Yeah,
I was
exactly.
verklempt.
This was not like any other episode of this show that we've had so far. Because this episode was like 80% talking and like 20% time travel.
Well, you forgot the 37% crying.
And crying. There was a lot of crying. I cried. Yes. We all cried.
There was a lot of dust in the room.
I choked up multiple times. I completely lost it, obviously, at the end. For the last episode of the show, Rogue Air, right, was all superheroic stuff. And there was a lot of action and team-ups and all of that. And this was all about heart.
Well, you know, if you go online and you look at all the stuff on, you know, Facebook, Twitter, all the social media, and you go to IO9 has had several stories about it, and so have all the sci-fi and superhero websites. This season finale has eclipsed every other comic book season finale on television. Yep. Once again, Haley and John, we picked the right show to podcast about because this was so much better than the series finale on Arrow. Oh!
I mean,
that was a series finale. Arrow's over now, right? And it's all about...
Right.
It certainly seemed like it.
I think in terms of the emotional weight of the show, and certainly completing the story arc of the first season, this nailed it.
Absolutely.
I'm really struggling to find anything bad to say about this episode.
I mean, if we really wanted to go through it, we could punch holes in anything because, you know, everything's...
And we will.
And
we'll
will.
Get to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, we could punch holes, like, through the fabric of time and space. But honestly, like, at that point, I didn't care. I'm like, okay, whatever, just do it. Like, it doesn't matter how they do it. Just do the thing and do what you need to do.
I have to agree. They did such a great job of comic book lore, but over the season, right? I mean, of acknowledging all of this comic book history, but it is still a television show, and what they've done as a television show is really great and amazing. And you're right, very satisfying finale. It set up, it closed stuff, it opened doors to season 2. I agree with you guys. It was amazing.
It was a great, satisfying ending, but yet there were tons of cliffhangers. So, I mean, I was happy with how it ended, and now I'm excited to see where they're going.
Back to the Future.
Now, the first thing that struck me was the opening VO, Barry's normal read. You could tell that this was a completely different read, even though he was saying the same thing, but the read was so much, like, deeper and somber.
Somber, subdued.
I did it on DVR, and, you know, you're right. Usually I DVR this and I fly through, and I'm like, okay, that's that part. And it wasn't really in this episode. I had to rewind. I was like, wait, what? Did I miss it? I was like, oh, shit. It's a different...
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's what for example, that was like the producers and that show telling you, oh no, this is the finale. This is big stuff going down. We're not even doing that. So get ready. Like, you know,
it started off, it right off the first frame into it, you know that everything, this is it. Get ready. This is where we're going.
This is a very special episode of The Flash. And that broadcasts everything. And if you think about it, his normal voiceover would not have worked because normally the show kind of like sets up with the cold open and they do that sort of like upbeat heroic intro, and then it like goes into the episode and it's usually like a cold open, like traditional in the like TV sense. Well, this, like, it goes right into basically where last week left off, where he says, I got you, and like now you're having that discussion with Harrison Wells about everything, and it goes right into that, and it's super emotional, super heavy stuff. And I don't think the upbeat intro would have worked, and I think they probably tried it and then realized that they had to go on start on a different tone.
Yeah, it was almost a word for word. He read the same.
Oh, it was
script,
exactly. It was the same script exactly.
But his read was so much more in like serious and
then it ended with today is that day.
It really pulled your attention to pay attention to me for the rest of the show, because everything that's happening right now is going to be fucking amazing.
We've been asking for a while now, when exactly was Eobard born? Like, when exactly is his time period? And we find out in this episode. He was born 136 years from now, which would be 2151.
Because Haley did the math.
Well, of course I did the math. He is not exactly a contemporary of the Flash.
No.
Unless Barry lives to be like 300.
No, but he hates what the Flash... What he really hates is what the Flash has created. Like, I'm sure he hates the Flash Museum, which, by the way, we got to see.
Yeah.
But wait, not to fast forward, because that's a whole other thing. But, you know, the Flash followed him back from 20... So Haley's right, like, with math, like, so Barry's living 90 years or whatever. But maybe the Speed Force makes him young.
No, I don't think so.
In the comics, he and Iris get married and then settle down in the future. He kind of like retires and settles down in the future.
That's right.
So
that's right.
They live in the future, and I kind of have a feeling that Eobard himself, although he said when he was born, he lives further in the future, because he usually says to people, to me you've been dead for centuries.
He didn't say that to Barry. Oh my God. The part where he's talking to Barry at the very beginning, where he's like, I've hated you, the other you, but now I understand what Joe and your father feel, because he loves Barry, but he hates Barry.
Because Barry doesn't have enough dads.
I did want to meme. I should meme that, because that's a great line. I hate you in the future.
So if Barry has 3 dads, then which one is Steve Guttenberg and which one is Ted Danson?
I think Joe is Danson, Wells is Guttenberg, and...
Who are we missing? Steve Guttenberg, Ted Danson...
Selleck.
Tom Selleck. Tom Selleck.
Yeah, the dad that's in jail.
Okay, and who is Tom Selleck's mustache?
Nice. Nice. I will say, I made notes, so you're right, like, again, why this episode was so big, right off the bat, again, first scene, they don't say it, but there's references to, like, huge comic stuff, like a thing called Identity Crisis, where he's like, I learned your name, and I learned who your loved ones are, and I'm going to kill everyone, which is, you know, a big concept right there. You could do a series just off of that. So that's what I mean. This episode's so big, it holds all these giant concepts. And then again, right after that, the whole concept of go back in time and save your mother, which I think I'm right, was what Flashpoint in the comics was all about.
Exactly.
And huge thing. You could do a whole series just on that. So in the first 5 minutes, they drop like bang, but like huge stuff on you. And if you have been a viewer all season, I guess, you know, you're rolling with it. Again, credit to them. They did a great job acknowledging comics, but also letting it be universal for the television audience. I think it was great.
And by the end of the episode, they've set up Infinite Crisis, which is something that they've sort of teased but obviously you have like references to the Earth 2 Flash. You have sort of a discussion of the multiverse. And actually, if you think about it, it could explain why there's a movie DC universe and a TV DC universe. And why there's going to be a movie Flash that's different from the TV Flash.
With emo Flash.
Yeah, Ezra Miller. But that, I didn't realize that movie's being written by the Lego Movie guys.
What I hear.
So it might actually be good.
It might not.
And they're very aware. I read an interview with them, and they're very aware of the Flash TV show and what they're doing. And they're really making an effort to do something different.
Well, they would have to, because they're going to be drawing the comparison way too much between the two. Everyone who watches it, I assume that all of us are going to go and see it.
It's like 5 years from now.
That's true.
I mean,
who knows if we're even alive?
It's not happening for a while, and who knows? By that time, the Flash could have done like they could write a script, and then next season, Flash will do everything that they drew on from the comics. Who knows?
And then they're going to be like, "Damn it, back to the drawing board." And then they're going to get the second script banged out, and then it's going to be season 3 of the Flash, and they're going to be like, "Damn."
Well, I mean,
wouldn't that be funny?
Just from this episode alone, they have shown. And in a very subtle and understated way, that basically nothing is off the table, including a shiny metal hat.
Oh my God, that even had me freaked out, which is something that I completely forgot about the original Flash.
Jay Garrick.
And I was just like, holy shit, I can't believe they're going to go there.
But then I was like, did he get his hat back?
Yeah, what happened to his hat? Is it like Indiana Jones? Like
he's going to start delivering flowers.
I had a lot of questions.
Maybe that's why the wormhole opened up again, because he's like, damn it, my hat, I got to go get it.
And he did it so fast no one saw. Exactly.
Nobody saw it, not even the Flash, because he's faster that way. He's the original.
Yeah. This was really a character episode.
Absolutely.
And all of the relationships that Barry's formed, and this huge decision that he's faced with, he goes to basically everyone and says, what do you think I should do? And ultimately, you can tell that his choice is based on the relationships that he has now, not the possibility of what he might get back. But
all right, okay, before we get there, I felt like the whole first half of it was like, it was like Barry was saying goodbye to everybody, and it was almost like they were allowing him to commit suicide, because out of their timeline, he would end up going away permanently, and they would never see him again. So he had to say goodbye to everybody as he knew them.
That's an interesting way to think about it, Will. Actually.
Or would their timeline end? You see a lot of characters make choices as though it's the end of the world. Caitlyn and Ronnie get married. Iris and Eddie say, screw the future. And everybody kind of like has this moment of like, shit, the world could disappear, whether it's the black hole that's going to suck up the planet, or, our timeline as we know it might just end.
Right. Because if we're going to risk the planet on anything, it has to be to save Barry's mom.
Okay. This is my biggest thing. I've said this before. It's all about the Allens. It means nothing what anybody else thinks. And that was the one negative that made me crazy. I was like, they're all looking at, like, even that scene with Iris, she's crying. She's like, okay, go get your mom. And I'm like, this erases your life. Like, what about, like, not one person was like, hey, wait a minute. Stop. Except his father, kind of. And I was like, thank you. That was the only voice. It was odd to me that all these characters were like, all right, go do it. And I was like, this affects
you got to do what you need to do, man.
This affects you. Would you just be like, okay, go. I guess maybe I won't be married either. Like, it's up to you. You just go, as long as you have your mom, like, go. Like,
I don't know.
It was weird. I just thought that was
I don't know.
odd.
I disagree. I think that because if, like, you were to go back, I would continue living forward within my timeline. I would just never see you again, because I know that you would have jumped into another timeline.
Which, again, his father was the only person in this entire episode that actually said that, and I'm glad somebody said it. But to be like, I don't want to lose you. I want you here. Like, I want this life. Like, I just thought that was... I said it earlier, they drove 1,000 giant concepts into 45 minutes, so God bless them. This is a big one, but yeah.
The way they set it up, though, with the idea that Wells went back in time and changed something so that the Flash going back would be correcting it, even though that for the last 20 years, that's the only reality that they've known. It was still a false reality because the timeline had been tampered with.
True.
But that's where like
interesting.
the whole like paradoxical element comes in, was like, well, okay, so yeah, like now if he goes back and changes it, then that changes everything from that moment forward. I think the beauty of this episode is that he gets to go back and have closure.
Oh, yeah. He didn't go back to save his mom. He went back to say goodbye.
And we get the closure, and it ends that story arc of him like getting justice. Not necessarily like he gets his dad out of prison, or he gets like he saves his mother's life, but he gets to go back and have closure for himself, which is what it was, I think, really about. It's so emotionally impactful, and yet it, preserves the timeline, so to speak, so that he gets to go and do that, but then, like, it's not a selfish act.
Well, it opens up a whole mess of doors, because if Eobard's timeline was completely erased, then he was never there to go back in time and kill Barry's mom. So Barry never had to go back to save his mom or to say goodbye. So it just unravels this entire mess.
Maybe that's why there's a giant black hole in the sky.
Well, I also believe that's why there's a billion different timelines that we don't know which one we're exactly following.
Right.
But Haley has a good point. They've certainly left the door open to take it anywhere.
Okay, the one thing that did happen that makes me think there aren't these parallel timelines is Eddie shot himself in the chest, and that Eobard disappeared.
Right.
Not a potential future Eobard, the Eobard that had traveled back in time and is existing now in this timeline. Right.
And by the way, I think that was a little bit overdoing it, because all Eddie had to do was go and get a vasectomy, really. I mean,
he's a drama queen.
They could adopt.
He should have been having a conversation like, okay, now we have to remember to go and get the vasectomy, or this will never happen.
They could have adopted a son, and he would have grown up with the Thawne name, still being his ancestor.
Now, by the way, talk about another oh my god moment. When you heard that gunshot and you turn around and you see him standing there holding the gun on his chest. Like, open mouth, hand to face, oh my god, did not see that coming. Yeah.
He could have shot himself in the junk instead.
Right? Done the same thing.
No man would ever do that. We would take the heart first.
Yeah. The conversation that he had with Dr. Stein about how he was the only one who had a choice. I mean, that was kind of like the foreshadowing, I think, for that. Which that made me think of like, oh yeah, they're working in something here, but
yeah.
Well, I had a note about that. Eddie, he's so pretty, and
Detective Pretty Boy.
Yeah, and that scene was cute. But I had a note here. It was that whole thing was a bit like Rudolph. I'm cute. I'm a coincidence. It was like, all right. Like, he was like, yay. I love Eddie. I said before, I think everyone's so mean to him. Like, nobody gives a shit about him because they're like, oh, Barry, are you okay? And I love that he did have that line where he's like, I've been so fucking worried about Barry.
Yeah. Right.
I forgot, like, the rest of us have a life. I was like, thank you. Again, I like Barry, but the show is so intense on Barry sometimes. You got to give these kids. So I love that he had that moment. I thought that was great.
Now, I wonder if he has a contract for next season, if we're going to see him again. Or if he's done.
They're saying that he's not coming back.
Aww.
But they're saying that Tom Cavanaugh will.
Yeah, but Tom Cavanaugh will be coming back as Wells, not as Thawne, because Thawne's gone.
We don't know that.
Well, that's true. It could be an alternate timeline. But I'm pretty sure it'll probably be coming back as Wells. Because
Cavanaugh was great. He was great.
Yeah, because now Thawne was never around to kill Wells. Right. So
but
Wells survives.
that still opens a huge.
But now Thawne never went back in time, causing Eddie to have to shoot himself in the chest to get rid of Thawne.
So now Eddie's alive by that logic?
I don't know. It's my ears. My ear balls are bleeding again.
head hurts.
that's beyond complicated. Based on how they were able to pull off some of the stuff this season, I'm pretty sure they've got a fix for it. But
now this is an interesting concept. They're in the same universe as Arrow, and Arrow's season finale was actually a series finale.
Sort of.
It really was. I mean, come on. He drove off into the sunset with the girl of his dreams and says he's happy. Sorry, spoiler alert. It was
maybe it was like Revenge. Revenge did that, like where I think they thought they weren't coming back, but then they got the note.
But see, Arrow knew they were coming back, so what I think is going to happen is that they're going to undo everything that happened in the last couple episodes in Arrow.
Because of a black hole
I don't,
in Central City.
I thought that at first.
Because the season finale of Arrow had Barry showing up and getting everybody out of prison so they could go to Starling City and save the city. With everything being undone, I don't know if Barry's going to be around to get them out, and then that'll have a different set of events happening.
But they didn't undo anything.
Right. Nothing.
At this point.
I don't think anything actually changed in the timeline other than Wells disappearing, which I don't think means that he was erased from time. I think there was something else going on.
Well, at that point, it wasn't Wells. He actually changed into Eobard.
Thawne, yeah. But I think there's something else at play, and I think it has to do with the wormhole reopening at that moment. Because the wormhole was gone, and then
came back.
It came back as he disintegrated.
I don't know.
So, if you strike him down, he shall return more powerful than you can
possibly imagine.
I don't know.
Thank you.
Can we talk about another thing? One problem that I had with the whole time travel aspect was how can Cisco remember the timeline that didn't really happen?
Because he was affected by the particle accelerator.
And he's got the vibrations of the universe. The vibrations. I was like, how dare. Hit me over the head. But you know what? All right. That's cool.
Where they're going with
fantastic.
That's where they're going with that.
But at least they explained it.
Yeah. Which I was like, no fucking way.
Good stuff.
We knew he's going to be vibe. And not for nothing. There was a line, which was where Wells says to him, I forget the line, but he said something like, basically he was like, you're going to die a hero.
Yeah.
Which is what happens in the comics. Like he goes out in a blaze of glory kind of thing, if I remember. But, so I thought that was also kind of like, wow, you're going to even go that far, Flash, and drop that line?
Well, he says a great and honorable destiny.
Oh, okay. But I maybe, well, then I'm reading into it, but I'm sorry to spoil the comics, but that, like, when I heard that, I was like, wow, like, they're implying that, which I thought was a big thing. Maybe I'm wrong, but.
There were some great one-liners throughout the whole show. There was the Douglas Adams reference, so long and thanks for all the fish.
That was a great cut to commercial with that line.
But I guess it was serious enough. There wasn't a lot of comedy per se, so it was hard to find.
Usually there's a lot more lines.
Even Cisco was a little serious, which I liked about Cisco. I liked that he was like, you tried to kill me, man, which was like good.
When Barry was getting ready to go, may the Speed Force be with you.
That
was great.
Nice.
I think that's how we need to close our show tonight.
He's right. Every show.
From now on until the end of time. I loved the line about Cisco wanting to know how the Reverse Flash fit his suit in that tiny ring.
Yes.
I was like,
great.
That's the number one question on my mind too. Is it like microtech or what?
Never mind, I'll figure that out later.
He didn't answer it.
Well, okay, and then stuff that got built, the time machine thing.
The time sphere.
Did that look a little whatever? Did that look a little like 1960s Doctor Who hokey?
Yes, which I love.
Oh, you mean the sphere, the time sphere?
Yeah, you could almost see that they were pulling it up with strings.
It was actually on a forklift on the behind the scene photo.
Okay.
Which I thought it looked fantastic. I'm like, yes, that's what I want. It's like the time machine is like H.G. Wells level stuff, which, hello, Harrison Wells sitting in a time machine. Come on.
Yes.
Right, that was brilliant.
Nice.
I love the fact that every character we want to know about, whether we needed them in the show or not, was there.
Yeah.
So Ronnie really didn't do anything except marry Caitlyn.
Be hot.
What's her face?
Well, he caught the thing about the tungsten, flammable dust.
Not just a pretty
which
face.
I love that he was like, it's not like putting together a shelf from IKEA. Because they all treat Ronnie kind of like he's a meathead, but he's really smart.
Right.
But he's so pretty.
Right. But here's the note I have, because that scene, or rather, no, there was another. So basically, that whole, in the beginning of the episode, right? And Barry's like, all right, I'm going to go back in time. I'm going to change timelines. I'm going to do all this stuff. This is my big beef. And then, like, the next scene is that guy talking to Caitlyn, just being like, you know what? I'm going to stay. I want to stay around. And I'm like, you're not staying anywhere. He's changing the timeline. It was a weird scene to be right after,
Caitlyn,
like, we're changing everything.
around after he's gone.
I'm like, why are you making plans? There's no plans. Like, it's done. You're undone.
Well, no, I mean, even Stein says, like, they literally have no idea what's going to happen. So it's all very uncertain, which I think to me is that's why they get married, because it's like, well,
to some
when you don't know
80,
what's gonna happen.
we don't know
some
what's going to
90s
happen.
song.
Don't
That
dream
song
it's
was
over.
weird.
Well, yeah, I thought so too. What
Come
song
on,
was
guys.
it? I usually
Hey
write it
now,
down.
hey now.
Oh, that's right.
Dream
Don't
it's
dream
over.
it's over.
I forgot who sang that
I was
song.
like, what? What song
Was
were
that
we
Howard
doing?
Jones? That's not Howard Jones. That's,
No. Oh, girl, that's the 80s.
Yeah,
Howard Jones.
Howard Jones is the 80s.
Anyway, but that song kind of took me out of it, though, because I was like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Because, again, I'm sorry, I'm
Crowded
stuck
House.
on the whole, like,
I'm sorry, Crowded House.
thank you.
Thank you, man.
I was just stuck on the whole, the timeline is changing everything, but let's play some Crowded House.
Right.
And pretend that
But
nothing's
of course,
happening.
he's a rabbi.
He's a rabbi.
He can have it ordained or whatever.
Oh, and not to out old Victor Garber, but, you know. Oh, Ronnie, our wedding. I was like, oh, Victor, please. You know, come on. Our wedding. And he said something. He was flirting through that whole episode. When he was talking to Eddie, he was like, oh,
Right.
Eddie. I was like, oh.
Do you blame him?
I don't. I'd be right there with him, but I was like, oh,
I mean,
Victor Garber.
they've been inside each other.
Yes, they have.
Which is further than Caitlyn's got, so yeah. She's very
Go through a
cold.
bit of a dry spell.
She's very cold.
Cold. Oh, let's talk about that.
Oh, I did that.
I see what you did there.
That's a really good segue. Before we talk about like the emotional finale of the episode, let's talk about what we saw on our way there.
Oh, wait, but real quick before that, I know what you're talking about when he's running and the things he's seeing. Is that what you're talking
Yeah.
about?
Yeah.
Right, but right before that, there was one. This is minor, but I love that they were like, "You need to run at Mach 2," and my first thought was like, "Well, you should get Speed Racer because he's got the powerful
He's got the
Mach
Mach 5.
And then I loved when they were like, it reminded me of Minority Report when Wells is like, "Run, run." I was like, "Oh no,
Well, that's been a whole theme throughout the whole season too. Like
Saying "Run, Barry, run."
Run, Barry, run. Yeah. Everyone's been saying that. Run, Barry, run. I mean, he said it to him in like the second episode when he was wearing that
with the tornado.
Nice.
Oh, was that it? The first episode with the tornado?
I mean, the
and
first
then when
time anyone says it is when his dad says, Barry's father says it to young Barry when the lightning is zipping around the living room. He says, "Run, Barry, run."
You're right. And then
Fact.
Wells says it to him when... No. Does Wells say it to him
Wells
during the
says
tornado? But he also says it when they're out in the desert and he's not wearing the suit, or it's the first time he's in the suit, and he starts running for the first time really fast.
It gets said multiple times. It's a big thing.
So anyway, so I'm sorry. So John, like you were saying, so then he runs. And
Yeah,
now
then he runs,
starts-
and then
yeah,
talk about some Easter eggs in there.
a lot.
Well,
Cute,
like I
yeah.
said earlier, we got to see the Flash Museum, which I was very excited to see because I didn't think they were going to go there.
Well, they referenced it once in the season earlier.
Yeah, you're right.
Am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they
They
did.
like in the future there's a museum or something. So it was kind of like, oh, there it is. That was cool.
Yep.
And the helmet.
We see the Legends of Tomorrow, which we see an actual clip from the trailer for Legends of Tomorrow, which is
Right.
Also, at the end of this episode, we saw Hawk Girl.
yes,
Right, who I didn't realize that was her. I had to look it
right,
up.
a
Oh my God,
Hawk Girl.
When? I have to go back and
When
watch.
everyone's looking up at the
Yeah,
singularity.
like you see Detective Singh
I
and
so missed
Cole
that!
and everybody looking up.
And
That's
just this
awesome.
random girl who
see a
gets out of
random
her car.
Hispanic girl look up.
Yep.
Interesting.
And in fact, it says at the end, during the end credits, it says special guest star or special appearance by, and then the actress's name, Sierra Renee.
Nice. That's pretty cool.
And then we got to see Caitlyn as
Killer Frost. Which,
Killer Frost, exactly.
I mean, she looks pretty interesting. She's got the blonde wig. She's got the bustier. She's got bright blue eyes or something like that, black lipstick or dark blue lipstick. So she goes through quite a personality change by the look of it.
A little bit. I'm surprised we didn't see Cisco as Vibe.
Well, I think because they referenced it.
I'd say that Killer Frost thing was, to me, for the show, that was a gigantic, here you go.
Yeah.
I thought that was huge to put her in that costume. And DVR Nation.
Yeah,
I myself, because I first saw it and I was like, oh, that's my first thought was, oh, that's that girl from Arrow.
Black Canary.
I saw some blonde hair and I was like, whatever. And then I was like, wait, let me rewind and frame it. And I was like, holy cow, that's her. It was awesome.
And you got to see Barry in handcuffs.
Yeah, in jail, in the Iron Heights prison getup. And you can actually go on YouTube and they have a super slowed down version of.
So
I saw that.
See everything
Really?
Yeah, I saw that.
But cheers to the producers for knowing to do that and to give you that, to dazzle that way in the midst of everything going on. That was pretty smart.
Okay, not to jump around and everything, but Stein wanted to yell out Excelsior. Isn't that crossing the streams?
He wasn't committed.
I mean,
he wasn't
DC,
committed.
right?
Or
DC
Eureka.
and Marvel.
Eureka.
Or Eureka.
I went to my lawyers are suing. That's where I went. I was like, Stan Lee's on the phone right now. That was pretty blatant.
Stanley Media will probably try and sue too.
Well,
but that's all they do.
I don't think he has a trademark on it because it's on the New York State flag.
Yeah, and DC they're litigious themselves. They would not. Yeah.
And didn't they just move to LA too?
Yes, they did.
Oh, and by the way, isn't it funny how he had 1 minute and 52 seconds?
52
oh,
seconds.
Shit, I didn't even put that together.
Yeah, I tweeted that in all caps.
52 seconds.
Nice.
Which, I
think
think the elapsed time was a lot longer than that because...
Right, but he was moving at super speed and then they had to slow it down for us so you couldn't really keep track.
I think also... Does it matter how much time he spends in the past, as long as he returns to the future within 1 minute and 52 seconds of when he left?
Well, it's interstellar stuff now, so yeah, maybe not.
Okay, so here's what I found interesting, is he goes to the past, and older Barry sees... I'm going to call him mid-Barry.
There's three Barrys.
There's three Barrys.
There's three Barrys, yeah.
Yeah, there's like 20-something Barry, and he says, he doesn't say to him, but he's like, don't come.
His head.
He shakes his head and puts up his hand, and it's like, don't do this. Now,
I don't think it was don't do this.
That?
I think it was not yet.
Well, that's it. You guys just raised a giant point. Because I paused and rewinded that. Because, John, you hit it on the head. Because I was like, exactly. Is he saying not yet? Or is he saying don't do this? By the way it plays out, it comes, don't do this. But I rewound it. I'm like, what was the gesture? It wasn't like just, this. Don't.
It was just like, wait a second.
Because you can't see George. With John. He's slashing
Hold up
his
a sec.
neck.
I got this.
Yeah, it was a little... that's a huge thing. I really rewound... Because, yeah. You got it.
And older Barry was not surprised to see younger Barry there.
Right.
So he must have remembered going through that.
Okay.
And I
think... No,
think...
because this Barry comes from a timeline where no one ever went back.
I think older Barry knew that younger Barry was going to show up, and that's why he stopped.
And if you want to get really crazy with it, the Flash knew because... Barry had already made up his mind what he was going to do. He didn't want Reverse Flash to see two Barrys in the same place.
Okay, here's the thing, though. That future Flash comes from a timeline where his mother never died, was not killed. So why was he making the decision to let her die if that's what he was doing?
Right. Well, I mean, younger Barry made the decision to let his mother die because all of those goodbyes and all the people doing everything for him in his timeline resonated with him, and he realized that he had to let his mother die, or else all the relationships that he had created would never happen.
Right,
So,
and that one I understand. It's the future Barry shaking his head that I don't understand.
Wait, if he saves his mom, what happens to him? Like, I
love that in the show they covered all that. If he saves his mom, he'll never end up moving in with Joe and Iris, so he will never meet Cisco or Caitlyn.
Which, again, was why I was complaining at the front. I was like, they said that, and then none of these characters cared. They're like, well, go back and save your mom. We'll never know each other, but fine.
Yeah.
But I also, because we did talk about this before, man, Joe. So, again, in the beginning, there's this huge, again, what I think is a huge thing. Hi, I'm going to change the timeline of the universe. And blah, blah, blah. And Joe goes, okay, do it. And, without any conversation, right off the bat, it was scene one. And I was like, okay. And I was like, this guy's an idiot. This guy does not make good decisions.
He's so selfless that he will literally lie down on the train tracks if it's good for Barry or what Barry wants.
I feel like, that too, but I feel like it's also kind of a fuck you to Wells. Wells has dictated this timeline, so let's blow this timeline up just to screw with Wells.
That's nicer than what I was thinking, Haley. I was like, of course this is Iris's dad who couldn't figure out that he was the Flash for 30 episodes because this guy's dumb. I just her father's a nut. And then later, so they go through this whole thing, they talk for hours, okay, and then he comes back and he's like, oh, well, I just said that because I was just being a dad, and okay, whatever, that whole second scene with them. And then in that scene, he says to Barry, well, you'll never lose me, ever. And I thought to myself, no, you will lose him. Did you not listen, Joe? We're going back in time, and I'll never know you. You're missing everything, Joe.
You'll just be his friend's dad.
Yeah. Yeah, you'll just be his friend's dad.
Joe.
We got so many chats with Joe in this episode.
But come on, it did put a lump in my throat when they were saying their goodbyes. And
goodbye, Dad. Goodbye, son.
Dad. Yeah, that killed me.
Well, they are good actors. Agreed.
Nobody turned in a bad performance this episode.
No, you're right.
Even Caitlyn, who usually is on the fence. Well, they didn't give her that much. She got married, so
yeah.
She just had to look pretty in her dress.
There was a Rip Hunter reference.
There was a Rip Hunter reference.
And this,
that was great. That Rip Hunter will be played by Arthur Darvill in the upcoming.
Who's used to going back and forth in time.
Yeah, he's very used to time travel in small spaces. Well, sort of.
Figure on the inside.
But cool.
Can we talk about the scene with Barry and his mother? Or is it too sensitive? When did you guys figure out what was happening? Did you know that he wasn't going to save her, or were you waiting for him to run off to a hospital with her, or what?
When he was leaning against the wall and crying before he went into the room, I was like, oh, dude, come on.
He's going to say goodbye. I mean, it was really well put together. They didn't tip their hand too much in telling the story and giving things away too early. So it was once again, it was a great season finale and was one of the best comic book season finales on TV.
Do you think the mom should have been like, okay, let's, nice to see you. Can we go to the hospital now? Instead she's like, okay, goodbye.
Hold on, let me just finish bleeding out
here.
There
was a bit of that.
Well, if we're going to go down that, once again, I go back to Eddie should have just gotten a vasectomy, called it a day.
Well, again, especially because he's the Flash. Couldn't you run me to the ER?
Yeah.
Really fast. Yeah. But agree with Haley.
What, my son grows up to be a streaker? What?
Streak, that was a good name.
So Barry looks just like her father.
Right.
Are we gonna find out that her maiden name was Garrick?
That would be cool.
Wait, that Barry's mother's maiden name was Garrick?
Yeah.
Yes. And so he is descended from a long line of speedsters.
And
that would make sense.
We'll find out that Jay Garrick looks like Barry.
Played by Grant Gustin Barry.
Right.
I think they're gonna go older because in the comics when they met, Jay Garrick was older. And so
gray hair.
Yeah, he had been the Flash for like a while, and then the streams crossed.
Don't cross the streams.
Well, I read something there said they were saying that if they did that, then that takes away from Barry Grant being the Flash. So they said maybe, somewhere online they were saying maybe this is like a new 52 thing where Jay Garrick exists on Earth 1 or whatever, that whole thing.
I think
Earth
that's
2.
more what they're going to do, because especially if they are setting up Crisis on Infinite Earths, they're going to have multiple universes that they're going to cross over to, or that will cross over with them. And I think, obviously, if Cisco really is Vibe, and he can, like, detect and manipulate openings in interdimensional space, like, that's going to be really important. And it will allow them to bring in more heroes and not just have metahumans.
Well, they talked about, but they also, which again, Berlanti at the end of the episode, which I thought was great, was where he admitted villains and things are not going to just be from the particle accelerator. We have different ways of bringing them in, which is great. That's that whole Superman or Smallville problem, right?
Right.
Everyone was, by the meteor. It was like, at some point you have to be like, no, we're just, yeah. So that was kind of cool.
And then we get probably my favorite shot of the episode, which was jumping out of a wormhole and punching Wells in the face.
Yeah.
Yes, that was excellent.
He's like, but you could have had everything you wanted. And he's like, I do, whooping your ass.
It was hot. And again, the show does actually, for a television show on the CW, does some good effects. I mean, it was kind of great. They delivered those moments.
I mean, I see why most of the episode was just a bottle episode in Star Labs, because they saved their money for those couple of shots.
Yep.
That's a good point. Didn't think of that. Well, there was a roof scene, but yes.
Yeah, there was a roof scene with drops and stuff. And once again, I kept saying Toronto, but it's not. It's Vancouver, because they shoot the show in Vancouver. So Vancouver at night is very beautiful.
But it did, for a second, when they opened that scene, he was standing on the edge like Superman. Like, and then
Batman.
I thought and then I was like, oh, okay. But then I'm like, all right, now they've done this roof.
It's the same rooftop that they use in Arrow, too. Yeah. They get a lot of use from that rooftop.
Harrison Wells said his cue to leave. Oh, he's like, yep, that's my cue to leave, when the hubcap helmet came through the wormhole and just skidded across the floor.
Guys.
Which I was like, wait a second, no way.
That was huge. Can I just be whatever? I love that at that moment, he's in that big glass ball, and they're like, okay, you have a minute and 52 seconds. Let's hurry up. And then he had to turn around like Austin Powers. Wait a minute.
Do a little K-turn in it with the little landing.
Come on!
He didn't have the backup camera. Boom, 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 boom.
I mean, the things that bubble, it has no blind spots. There are literally no blind spots on it.
On that silly note, I had one other funny, slightly silly note. The whole episode, they're talking to Wells. He's in this, whatever. I hate the jail.
He's in the pipeline.
Yeah, whatever that is. Blah, blah, blah. And they're going through. And then there was that one scene where they were talking to him on video, where he's in the cell. Right? He's still in the cell. But at that point, they were in the other room, and they're talking to him on the TVs, right? He had a jacket on.
It gets cold down in the
wardrobe. I was like, now a jacket? Like, what? What? And where did he get the jacket? The Belly Burger?
Don't you love that he was eating
and
fries?
None of you have mentioned Belly Burger, so how dare all three of you?
Yeah.
But
Belly Burger. And he's eating french fries and sipping off a shake.
What's going on in this jail? And I was like, and I thought it was very odd that, for this scene, I'm going to have a jacket. This is very weird to me.
It gets cold down there,
I guess.
I like that in the pipeline prison, they're spending money on takeout for every single meal.
Yep.
And they have separate dietary needs. Somebody likes, Indian food. Somebody else likes burritos. Somebody's ordering pizza. Thai,
Well,
somebody's vegan.
Who's the guy that you guys say, Walter? What?
Well, no.
The guy
Gunther.
that runs...
Gunther. Gunther's the one that gets everyone's food. I mean, we saw Caitlyn feeding them, but we really know it's Gunther.
Right. Caitlyn gets the orders from Gunther.
Yeah. Gunther goes down. He gets the orders from everybody, gives them to Caitlyn. Caitlyn calls him in. And then Gunther goes and gets coffee, and that's why there's a revolving door, and people just walk right in.
Yep. Well, there's a lot of coffee shops in Central City, apparently.
No,
just
There's an
Jitters.
opening at Jitters now that Iris has moved on to the newspaper.
She works at the Picture News.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know her editor was murdered. Does anybody remember that? Her editor was murdered in those offices, but okay.
Yeah, but there was a
Very
speedster
clear.
there to clean it up, so it's fine.
Just
There's
saying.
one more thing that we have to talk about. Oh, the giant singularity that just opened over the city.
Eh.
Do you think that might be a problem that someone should maybe take care of?
Maybe the Flash will just run up into it.
That was pretty awesome. That was my second favorite shot of the episode, of him running at super speed up the debris. Yeah, that was pretty
Where have
cool.
I seen that before? Where somebody jumping from piece of debris to piece of debris?
Yep.
I've seen that in either movie or TV show.
Spider-Man does it sometimes.
Is it a Spider-Man thing? Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure it's
But
happened.
not at super speed, which that was pretty awesome.
I agree. It was cool, because you're right. For a second, again, Mr. Logic over here. But you're right. For a second, I was like, how's he? And I was like, oh, he's running off the debris. Very cool.
And then he's going to get up there and run really, really, really fast.
In the
Just
opposite direction.
In the opposite direction, just like the tornado.
Yep.
Well, that was great. They did a callback to the first episode. Well, at least he didn't swing his arms around in that really
That
stupid
looks
way.
so stupid. Well, we saw Captain Cold, we saw Hawkgirl, and we saw Captain Singh.
In the comic books, does Captain Singh ever become a superhero or anything? It's just Captain Singh the whole time.
I don't think so.
Yeah, he's just the
He's a character, for
boss.
the show.
Copy that.
All right. That's it. Season 1 of The Flash. It's in the books.
It's funny. So myself, watching this show all season, I thought, all right, they got this guy, the Rogues. They got that guy, they got that. And I was like, who haven't they had? Right? Mm-hmm. And so there's two big ones to me. They haven't had the Top, and they haven't had Mirror Master. And I heard
I'm the top, and you're the bottom.
Oh, come on, Haley. I kind of love that the Top's actually a great villain for Flash, but there's a rumor that Mirror Master may come in season 2, which I thought was like fantastic. And what quickly, Mirror Master though is tricky because I see why they waited, because the other guys are kind of more based in reality. Mirror Master's very weird, he's traveling through mirrors, but nonetheless, I guess if you're doing time travel and everything else they're doing on this show, interesting. I don't know. I would love to see Mirror Master, so just saying.
I recently, also in one of the articles, I saw a picture of the Flash standing next to Supergirl. So we know when Supergirl when Supergirl premieres in CBS.
Well, that was in an article about Greg Berlanti.
Yeah,
that's
that
across
was
the network.
Yeah,
It was
you're
just a
right. It
photo
wasn't an
shoot.
article about
That wouldn't
Just
happen
a photo
across
shoot.
networks.
They're not
No,
gonna
they
cross
are.
over.
Greg
I don't think
The
they're-
last I've heard is that CBS is like, no, you can't play with our toys.
I think.
Oh, really?
At least not in season 1. I think they're going to try to let it.
What I have
unless their
heard-
ratings aren't great.
Yeah, what I have heard is they might do you'll be seeing an episode of Supergirl and there will be news about something happening in Central City or something like that. Like they're going to exist in the same universe, but they're not going to have the type of crossovers we've seen this season with Flash and Arrow.
Which honestly,
no way.
I'm okay with that. It's because it's on a different network. It's, whatever.
It
It's also
looks
going
like
to be
a
on the same time
completely
as
different
Gotham
show.
for part of the season. So,
Oh darn, I guess I won't be able to watch Gotham.
considering that Gotham is regularly beaten by CBS airing reruns of The Big Bang Theory, I'm pretty sure that Supergirl will best them in the ratings.
Everyone
Yeah.
is so down on Gotham all the time, and I enjoy it. I watch it, and I
Look, I watch
dig
it
it.
as well. It has its moments.
Well, of course
But-
you watch it. You have a podcast about it.
I don't
you have
think
to watch
anything-
it.
It could be better. It could be so much better.
It could be.
I don't think anything compares to what The Flash has done this season. I will even go so far as to say that, The Walking Dead has not hit the level that The Flash.
Whoa! No.
I don't think not in recent seasons.
I think that's
they're,
apples and
they're
oranges.
so different. I don't know that I could compare the two.
I'm just saying,
Agreed.
as far as comic book TV goes, and comic book TV for comic books sake. You know what I mean? In terms of embracing that and not being like, no, we're going to be dark and gritty and realistic and this and that. Like, no, we're going to put people in costumes and give them code names and cool superpowers, and it will be about someone being a hero, not an anti-hero, not a dark and brooding guardian of the city.
Daredevil.
Well, yeah, Daredevil, Arrow, at least, Arrow up until now.
Well, I think, listen, you're absolutely right. But again, I think you guys have said this before. That's what Flash has always been. From 1950, he started the Silver Age of comics with this promise and positive, and he's always been. And whether he was Wally or even Bart, he's always been very positive, blah, blah, blah. And that's a good thing. And again, credit to the producers of doing this television show and capturing that spirit. And I think that's why it succeeds, as opposed to people trying to be Christopher Nolan and trying to do all this stuff. So I agree with you on that. I think it's a good thing. But, I don't know, the Walking Dead thing, I mean, it's a
I'm
different...
just saying, I have not enjoyed an episode of Walking Dead as much as I have enjoyed, just this finale.
I'll give you that, because Walking Dead is very negative, in general. The world sucks and we're all zombies.
It's not a fun show to watch.
Yeah,
I
see.
Walking Dead is not a show that I would say I enjoy an episode of Walking Dead. I experience an episode of Walking Dead.
I was trying to get more in terms of, the writing and the characters.
Well, because what I wanted to just comment on that is that what I think is really interesting is that people have also talked about Game of Thrones, which I think is very interesting. And again, I think what's interesting about this, even in my time just podcasting with you guys, I just think it's fun because I love comics and I'm going to geek out about comics. But on the end of the day, this is a television show, and there is certain norms and things that have to be done to make that happen. Game of Thrones is a really great example, just things that have been happening in this season and et cetera going forward, without spoiling it, but that are very different from the novels and are not from the source material, but work for a television audience and make that show great. And you know what I'm saying? It's different mediums, I guess, is the point. But
I think
sorry, just to finish the last thing was that Flash. Sorry, last thing. Sorry, is that Flash? You're right. Flash and I really want to know if it's Berlanti or if I think he has other people who are more in tune with comics. Yeah, more in tune with. Oh, Mark. Okay, so there's comic people. You're right. They do. This show is so specific and I think interesting because they do such a great nod to these comics and to that source material, but yet still do they ride that balance very well.
And even something as subtle in this episode as referencing vibration in with regards to Cisco, to do it so subtly, or even the little flash where you see Caitlyn as Killer Frost, she's almost unrecognizable. So unless you knew that that character was Caitlyn's character, it's subtle enough that if you're a non-fan or not as familiar with the source material, you're just there's a villain that he's going to face at some point or something.
They do a great job. Great. Anyway,
and even the casual fans, and it's also enough for the casual fans, so it doesn't go to extreme of one or the other. I'm a casual fan, so I know enough, but not I keep going back. First episode, we were making fun of Grodd. Now I know you do not make fun of Grodd. You respect the Grodd. So,
and honestly, I think one of the great things about this show is, as opposed to, say, Gotham or Arrow or Walking Dead or whatever, this show is creating fans. And I've seen so much posted online of, people posting, here's my 6-year-old son, his favorite show is The Flash. And, this is connecting with audiences of all ages.
Yeah, I barely knew who The Flash was before we started doing this podcast, and I love The Flash now. Got a little Funko Flash over here. Yep. I got a Flash t-shirt on the way.
Yeah.
It's good character. Well, and again, this is television, but it's also from the comics. They're good characters, and they've done a good job of making them all likable and relatable. like you said, you get upset, you cry, you're with these people at 22 episodes or whatever in, you're with them. So wherever they go through a black hole or wherever, you're there.
And it has become appointment television. It's Tuesday night. I got to get home to watch Flash.
And I watched live. I live tweeted the finale. It was fantastic. A late breaking story that somebody caught. There is a mysterious ring on Eddie's neck as you see him lying there, presumably dead. It looks very much like the Reverse Flash ring.
See, to me it looks like some sort of necklace.
Yeah, but why? Why does he have it?
Because he's trendy.
I don't think so. He always wears a tie. You never see his neck.
But he doesn't mean anything. He's useless. He's just a coincidence.
His corpse gets sucked in the wormhole. It can't be nothing.
I agree! No, but exactly. I was like, oh, he's in there. That leaves room open, although I guess you guys heard that he's not coming back. But
He's not going to be on the main cast. But
recurring.
Do we know if that's like a Flash ring, or it could be his grandmother's wedding ring that he was going to give to Iris?
That's another explanation.
You have to look at everything. You're right.
You gotta check this stuff out.
But that would explain why we never see him shirtless.
Who's asking?
I'm just saying. I'm just saying because it's like, season 1 of The Flash or season 1 of Arrow, Stephen Amell was shirtless most of the season.
And Robbie was shirtless.
As he should have been.
And Robbie was shirtless.
Those
Like, all the men
ML
were
brothers.
shirtless. I mean,
Cousins.
But we never saw him. Just saying.
He's a cop. He's very serious.
And he does talk with that graspy voice.
We have a friend who is an agent for voiceover, and I told him, I was like, go find this guy. This guy should be doing voiceover.
And he's got a really weird, his natural voice is really this weird mix of like Australian and
He's
South African.
right?
Yeah.
Well, he's South African, but he grew up in Australia. So it's this weird mix that
So he's Charlize Theron.
Yes, he's Charlize Theron.
I heard you laugh, Haley. Come on. Just joking. Sorry.
So, if you're enjoying this podcast, we've got tons of other great stuff on the GonnaGeek network, including the main official GonnaGeek podcast. On episode 95 this week, Nellie Isn't Witty, they had a longtime fan of the show, Neil Isn't Witty, on. He joined them to give his insight on Verizon buying AOL and why it's actually relevant. They also chat about why there may actually be a good use for facial recognition, how NASA is maybe working on a warp drive, and run down all the cancellation and renewals of your favorite geek TV shows. After this, Steven pulls out a special version of Steven's Geeky Stuff, the JS is Wrong edition. Why? Listen to find out. You know what wasn't canceled? The Flash.
The Flash was not canceled.
It was not, because it's awesome.
Gonna get renewed and spun off.
So how many DC shows are we looking at? We're looking at The Flash,
3.
Arrow.
4. Zombie.
Yeah, 4.
Is Zombie
Plus Gotham.
DC?
And
Zombie-
that
Zombies
Titans
is-
one.
Oh, you're
maybe.
talking everybody.
Yeah, everybody, yeah.
Sorry.
At least within
Supergirl.
the shared universe, the 3 CW shows, presumably Supergirl. Gotham could be the past of the same universe.
Then there's that Titans show that's supposed to be on TNT.
Yeah.
Now, this is what I heard about Gotham. Greg Berlanti and the people at DC were asked about Gotham. The explanation that I heard is that Gotham does exist in the same universe as Arrow and The Flash, but it happened many, many years ago.
I suspect in the end of the season, when they did the Scarecrow, when they did the Joker, when they did those things,
Right.
and they kind of sped up a little bit in the end there for a minute.
Right.
And Barbara and stuff is at the end of the finale. So I suspect that they might
By the
pay
way,
attention to that.
the last, I'd say, like 3-4 episodes of Gotham,
Yeah.
I thought made up for the rest of the season.
Yeah, they
I
were
love
okay.
that Barbara was fucking batshit crazy. And
Fish.
Jada. I can't believe. Like, I love that. It's like, okay, you may think you're not coming back now, but we're not going to completely kill you off because you may want to rethink that.
You're only mostly dead.
Yeah, they did some. Look, I mean, they
The
did some
doll
good
maker
stuff.
thing was
They've
great.
got great stuff with Robin Lord Taylor as the Penguin.
Mm-hmm.
They've got
fantastic.
great stuff with Corey as the Riddler. And season 2, I think, is going to be, if season 1 was the Penguin, season 2, I think, will be the Riddlers. So that's
his turn, the Riddler's turn, was fantastic. I loved it.
Yeah.
I mean, people rip on that show, but there are really some great gems in it.
I'm not
He's
saying
good.
that
He's
there's not a place for it on TV. I don't think it's not at the Flash level for me. And I do a podcast about it, and I've been honest about my take on it. But
well, I think just as a quick sentence, I think with television in general. This is what frustrated me with Ryan Murphy's shows after a pilot. It's consistency. Glee was a great show that first season, my goodness, but then just fell apart because suddenly these characters were doing and saying things and you're like, what? You need to be, and I think, unfortunately, my personal thing is that Gotham kind of falls into that and you're like, what?
Yeah,
but you need that consistency, which The Flash is great at.
Which the Flash is doing, it's being true to the characters, but it's expanding on the world and bringing in, crazy ideas. But then I think this episode is a great example of, so you've built the relationship with these characters all season, now introduce this thing where one of the characters can go back in time and change everything. How do they all deal with that?
But you're talking, again, about, in a way, just basic good storytelling and basic writing.
Right.
Lock us down with a base. Give me these characters that I care about. Then go do time travel and everything else.
Earn
or
it.
Whatever.
They earn it.
Any show needs to do that.
Because they did the legwork with the characters and developing the relationships. And then you understand Barry's choice at the end. And that's also why most of the episode you're screaming at the TV, no, don't do it. Don't go back and change stuff. I don't want things to change.
Right, because we love the characters as they've been established.
Right.
We don't want new people.
Right.
Because we're all geeks and nerds and we don't like change.
Change is bad.
I love
change
that.
is scary.
We don't want new people.
Who are you?
No new
I don't
people.
want you here.
You know who's not new people?
Who's not new people?
Adam.
Wow, that was epic. I'll probably have some slightly more coherent thoughts later after I've had a chance to watch it again, but the pace was a lot different than I expected, with spending most of the episode looking at these character motivations and his decision-making process there, but the last few minutes were especially great. I mean, with the time travel thing, we got a preview of the Flash Museum, Caitlyn as Killer Frost, and then once we got back to the past, older Flash actually waving Barry off from saving his mom. I mean, not sure how he'll know to do that when it comes around again, but we'll have to wait and see. It kind of looked like Eobard was like, oh shit, when the Jay Derrick helmet came through the wormhole. And then Eddie shooting himself and committing suicide to stop Reverse Flash. Didn't see that one coming. Talk to you later. Bye.
He hit on a lot of the things that we hit on. I think he liked the episode.
It was not abysmal.
No.
We also heard this week from Coach Hill.
Hey guys, Coach Hill here. What a finale. Holy cow. Just really loved it from start to finish. It set things up nicely. Seeing Barry go along with Eobard's plan, and then having Joe be one of the first ones to giving the seal of approval on making that deal, or not making that deal, taking care of business like that, and to see him go back and having his future self telling, no, don't do this, and then pretty much come back and pop a Eobard upside the head and all, and for Eddie to be selfless like that and to die a hero was awesome. Can't wait for next season. This show really turned out to be something awesome and great, and I'm so glad I started watching it, and I'm really glad that I found you guys' show, and look forward to many more from you guys. Talk to you later. Bye, y'all.
Coach.
Good reactions. I think this is probably, I think we're right on that this is universally acclaimed, this episode. I almost wonder if it'll go down as one of the greats.
It definitely be one of the best episodes.
Yeah.
Let's see how long this show lasts. I mean, I want it to go on for a very long time. Not as long as Supernatural long, but a long time.
Nobody wants that.
Season 11.
Great.
But it'll be one of the best episodes of the series, I think.
Yeah. I'm really just looking forward to what they're going to do in season 2. Like, if this is how good they could do season 1, imagine how awesome season 2 is going to be.
Well, they've just raised the bar for themselves, and I hope they didn't raise the bar too high.
You know what's fun? I feel like this is a really good spot to do what we're about to do, because we've kind of cracked open the multiverse a little bit with this episode. And considering there could be other versions of the Flash out there.
Maybe one that looks kind of like John Wesley Shipp.
Right?
Well, right. I thought about that.
Which that is our off-season plan.
I think we've discussed it before, but yeah, this summer we're going to start watching through the 1990 Flash series, and we're going to do a mix of, our normal commentary review style thing, and then doing some actual commentaries that you can watch along with the episode and drink, because that's what we'll probably do.
We will be drinking. We will be watching and making fun of. Now, I already went ahead and watched the pilot.
Yeah.
It's very 80s, 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not going to lie.
I'm looking forward to.
Yep.
It's like, oh my God, did people really have that hairstyle and wear those clothes?
Well, which is why I think, God love John Wesley Shipp, I think he's just thrilled to have the scenes that he had in this finale and, to be like, oh, right, all right, I'm acting. I'm not just in some cardboard suit from the 90s.
Right. Well, he gets to
you got a meaty scene. Right. Not to take us way back into the episode, but you understand what I mean. Yeah.
He gets to do it right. He's like, this is the way we should have done the Flash.
And not only that, but he's turning in good performances. And I know you could say well, any actor could play that role, but I feel like he's done a really good job.
Well, there's a ton of guest appearances on the 1990s version of The Flash. A lot of people guest star, of course.
Luke Perry, Joey Lawrence.
Yes, Luke Perry, Joey Lawrence.
Matt LeBlanc, Jerry Seinfeld.
Yes, they all make guest appearances.
What have we learned?
I learned that the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, or even the one. Unless that one is Barry Allen.
Ha! See? All about the Allens.
I learned that they're out of cows in the future.
That was mine! Damn it! Right?
That's why I put it in the notes.
I love it.
He can't see the notes from where he's
at.
That's okay.
That
I love it. I'm glad I didn't go first then. That was a weird, strange comment. Exactly.
It's not a future I want to live in.
In that same vein, I have learned that if you're coming from the future, what you have a taste for is Big Burger.
Right.
Yeah.
Because there's no cows in the future. You can't have them.
Is there anything else you learned?
Well, I guess what I could say I also learned is that a black hole can change a lot of things. How about
wow. That? I mean,
Oh, all right. A singularity can change a lot of things. Is that better?
Which, how did she draw the short straw to be the only scientist in the room who didn't know what a singularity was? And she's like,
dude, she does. I don't even remember what kind of science she does.
That
was it her?
Well, she's a biologist.
Who said that?
But
no, he's right.
It would have been perfect.
That
would have been a perfect Eddie line. What's a singularity?
Shut up, coincidence.
This has been Crimson Comet, episode 27. Join us next week as we discuss the 1990 Flash Season 1 pilot. I guess there was only one season. Until then, I'm Haley.
I'm Lobster.
I'm Rum Daddy.
And I'm George.
May the Speed Force be with you.
Bye. Thanks for listening. If you want to leave us feedback, you can find all of our contact information at crimsoncomet.com. Find us on Twitter at Crimson Podcast or Facebook at facebook.com/Crimson Comet Podcast. Leave us a voicemail at 423-FLASH-53. That's 423-352-7453. The opinions heard on this podcast are those of the individual host and do not represent GonnaGeek. The podcast is not affiliated with DC Comics, Warner Brothers, or the CW. No infringement is intended. The music heard is by Kevin MacLeod of Incompetech.com.
We're going to pause for a second while George goes pee.
Sorry.
He's running out of the room with his legs crossed. It's pretty damn funny.
Outtakes.
Sorry, guys.
He's back.
That's
Haley. Have we heard any feedback from anybody about the show?
What?
Okay.
Wait.
Whoa!
Two goddamn horses.
Whoa! Okay.
We forgot.
Trying to get the ball rolling, people. Why am I blanking on Luke Skywalker's name?
Mark Hamill.
Mark Hamill.
Thank you. Falcon's Crest. There's somebody in the pilot that was from Falcon's Crest.
Apollonia?
Yes, Apollonia.
She was on it. Girl, don't get me started. I'm all over the soap.
Sex shooter.
Don't get me started.
Shooting love in your direction.
What's happening?
I cannot wait.
Haley, look up Apollonia 6 and look up what the 6 meant.
I looked it up. I still don't know what's happening.
I love her. She's like, bang, done. I'm in the 80s. What do you want?
I've learned... I don't know what I've learned. No. I've learned never underestimate... No, I can't do this. Always overestimate... No. Never forget... No. Always remember... I can't remember. I'm old. I drink. I forget.
Are you passing? He's passing, guys. He's officially...
I'm in tears.
It's been nice knowing you.
Oh my goodness. Are you really...
The podcast was great while it lasted.
Oh no.
Will died like he lived, laughing and full of rum.
We did learn... You know what we learned this week? Will's not himself when he's sober. It was like those Snickers commercials. You know, just hand him some rum. He'll be fine.
Right.